podcast are interprofessionals, hospice people, senior care, clergy, and they're working with actively dying person and the family. So many of our listeners work with these folks whose loved ones are in crisis or declining rapidly.
Yeah.
So what do you wish more care professionals understood about what happens, I guess, in our funeral home, but maybe even more in particular with the deceased care and presentation in their environment? Like what?
Sure.
How could we help them do the best job possible for the family and the deceased?
Good question. So I think, especially in the case where a person is at home or in a facility under hospice care, I think that, you know, if you look at the broad spectrum of care, there's doctors, nurses, physician's assistants, nurses' assistants. There's always someone caring for the deceased while they're living.
Mm.
Care shouldn't end when the person dies.
Mm.
So that's where I come in, but that's also where these hospice nurses and families can step in. They can, you know, when a person passes at home while they're waiting for the funeral home to arrive, or while they're waiting possibly for other family members to make their way before the funeral home arrives, there can be steps taken to continue that care for the deceased, such as cleaning the face, gently cleaning the face, gently closing the eyes, carefully changing soiled bedding or even a diaper. Those little things that just continues the care. We don't want it to stop. It should not be interrupted just because we're waiting for the funeral home to arrive.
Yeah.
I just think that it would be helpful. It would be nice.
Yeah. I think I've had this sort of mission in my mind to be a collaborator in the healthcare spectrum, right? The continuum of care.
Yes.
And I think you put it really well. And I never really thought about how we could offer an idea like this to the dying caregiver group, right? Yes. So their job doesn't end when the person dies. The person who's died is still in their care. Mm-hmm. And what if they had some kind of ceremonial cleaning and prepared the person who's now died, even the family witnessing that. We've seen that a lot on transfers, that we like the family to stay with us as we're moving the person from the bed to the gurney. And we find that ceremony sort of spontaneously breaks out. Prayers, poems, holding the person, helping us wheel the person into the car. Yes. So why wouldn't the hospice folks and stuff have a sort of post-death ceremony? Yeah. Could be very powerful.
It could be.
Yeah, I like that. Hopefully you get something out of that. I'm not sure. I think we had another idea.
Yes. So I'd also like for those professionals to keep in mind that while there are funerals that involve a day, 2 days, many hours of visitation, followed by a ceremony, followed by a burial, followed by a luncheon, followed by so on and so forth. That's one aspect of funerals and funeral service. Just because a family may not want that, all of that, doesn't mean that they can't have something. So what I enjoy a lot about my job is that I get sometimes to host even a small gathering of 3 family members in one of our smaller chapels, and those family members get to spend an hour, 45 minutes with their loved one privately. And in that time, they can invite a priest over, invite a friend over who hasn't seen that person in 10 years. They can play music, they can bring a flower, they can bring photos, they can make that time what they want and what they need it to be. So just because you're not having a giant blowout of a funeral doesn't mean that you have to have nothing. And that's what I need for professionals to understand, that we can customize, if you will, funerals depending on what you want, what you need, and what's best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. We do that more and more and more.
Yeah, we do.
I would say more than half of the families we serve are choosing cremation, and half of those people are not having any kind of ceremony, but they do a small hour witnessing, private time, identification. People call it different things, and greatly enjoy that time with family. I know you've cared for thousands of individuals and their families. What has this work taught you about life, grief, and the healing power of your compassionate preparation skills?
It's a great question. I can say it has taught me that life is precious and short, and it can change in an instant. It has taught me that grief is as unique as the relationships that preceded it. And it has taught me that the reason I go to the extremes that I do to put forth a good product is because I truly believe it's so important. No one wants to talk about death. No one wants to think about death. I work with it every day. And it's so important to me that people can walk away from that experience just a little bit better, a little bit lighter, and a little bit in the direction that one day they're going to be okay.
Yeah. I always had this idea, working with the bereaved and support groups and whatnot, that many times the spike of grief comes from positive memories.
Yeah.
So they get flooded with these memories, and then they realize they don't have this person standing next to them. And I think what you just said there really is a big part of that. That maybe we help them to be able to carry on, grieve, and have these positive thoughts without it ruining them.
Yes.
So preparing the body properly gets us some relief, some sense of comfort that this person is in a better state than they were when they were dying, and that we can let them go and grieve in a better space.
Yes.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Lauren, for joining me today. I am grateful for all you do at Bradley's.
Thank you for having me.